Wow, so they were called Sky Pesos way back in 2010 or even earlier. And apparently back in 2018, the points guy suggested the term Sky Zimbabwean dollars. Yeesh. Okay, to clarify, I'm talking about Delta SkyMiles, and the aforementioned terms came to be due to their perceived lack of value and consistent devaluation over time. While, yes, Delta SkyMiles are overall less valuable than a lot of other airline miles, I'm here to tell you that there's still a ton of utility and value to be had from them. In this one, I'll go over how you can unlock such utility and value from your Delta SkyMiles through booking flights of multiple kinds, domestic and international, economy, and business class. There are other redemption options that are available to you. I have a list here if you want to pause to read it, but in general, they're going to offer you far less value for your Delta SkyMiles compared to booking flights. And with that, let's get into it. Are Delta SkyMiles worthy of their notorious reputation, or is there significant value to be had? I'd say the latter, for the most part, and it depends on what you mean by value. If it's huge cent per point value that you're looking for, then you're likely to be disappointed, though stick around till later where I'll show you some itineraries that might surprise you. Delta has adopted dynamic award pricing, meaning that the price of a flight in terms of Delta SkyMiles roughly scales with the price in cash at a rate that's never less than 1 cent per point, but hardly ever more than 2 cents per point. I believe most people think of 1.2 cent per point to maybe 1.5 cent per point as a reasonable target for their Delta SkyMiles. This is true for US domestic routes across all cabin types, as well as nearly all international routes. Let's look at an example of this. Here we have a US domestic itinerary from Denver to Seattle, which in cash is $119 for main cabin. With SkyMiles, it's 8,000 miles plus $6 in taxes and fees, which gets you 1.41 cents per point. Though note that if you have certain Delta credit cards, namely the Delta Gold, Delta Platinum, or Delta Reserve, either the personal or business version, you'll pay 15% less in SkyMiles for most Delta flights, so not any of their partner flights, compared to if you didn't have one of these cards. So for this example, if you have a card, it will be 6,800 miles plus $6, which gets you 1.66 cent per point. Very solid. It beats that 1.2 to 1.5 cent per point range that I quoted earlier. Delta offers a ton of different itineraries that have pretty good availability throughout the year, are within a narrow range of cent per point value, and ultimately just don't cost a lot of miles. I think Delta SkyMiles are underrated in how they allow you to simply save on short and medium distance flights and even multiple flights over time. Say you recently got approved for the Delta Gold Card and received its sign-up bonus of 70,000 Delta SkyMiles. That bonus alone can cover that Denver to Seattle round-trip award ticket 5 times over. There are also occasional award flash sales that allow you to use even fewer Delta SkyMiles, as well as unlock even greater cent per point value for your miles. Though, by definition, they're not always around, and Delta doesn't necessarily advertise them publicly. It's just great that you really don't need to rely on the flash sales to get decent cent per point value for your SkyMiles. Okay, great. So Monty, you said earlier that we can do better. Is it through booking business class with partner airlines, which is typically how you get outsized value for your airline miles? Well, unfortunately, Delta has slowly but surely removed opportunities for such redemptions. For example, this New York to Budapest, Hungary flight on Air France business class goes for $2,256 or 200,000 Delta SkyMiles and $25. This comes up to 1.12 cents per point, which honestly isn't good for business class, and wow, that's a lot of SkyMiles. You see this in so many instances of Delta One or partner business classes, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in SkyMiles. And this type of pricing makes me think, Sky Pesos? Fair enough. Fortunately, this isn't always the case. The key is to look for international routes that never touch US soil, as bizarrely, some of these itineraries kind of still follow some type of fixed award chart. Let's look at this flight from Seoul in South Korea to Sydney in Australia, flying business class on Vietnam Airlines. It goes for around $1,920, but instead of hundreds of thousands of SkyMiles for the award ticket, it's just 65,000 miles and about $48 in taxes and fees. This comes up to 2.88 cents per point, which isn't an insane business class redemption by any means, but it's more than acceptable from my opinion. Another example, Rome to Tokyo on ITA Airways business class, 2,238 euros or about 2,410 US dollars. Again, not hundreds of thousands of sky miles, but 80,000 sky miles plus 45 euros. Comes up to 2.96 cents per point. Another cool thing is that for this itinerary, 80,000 sky miles is less than what Air France charges at 104,000 Flying Blue miles, and Virgin Atlantic doesn't even have this itinerary available. Though, note that there will be other instances where using other airline miles, possibly from transferring from your credit card points, will offer you better value for your redemption. With that said, to me, the opportunities, albeit few, to get outsized value for your Delta SkyMiles on international business class routes that don't touch US soil makes SkyMiles pretty underrated. So, in summary, I think if you manage to avoid business class flights that depart or arrive in the US or both, there's potential for either redemptions that don't cost a ton of miles and offer decent cent per point value, or redemptions that offer far greater cent per point value. So specifically those international business class routes that don't touch the US. Personally, when I think of how to use my Delta SkyMiles, I would prioritize using them on US domestic economy flights and just keep the option of international business class in my back pocket if my situation allows for it. Okay, we've talked so much about how to redeem Delta SkyMiles. The other key piece is how to earn them. The best ways to earn lots of Delta SkyMiles is of course by flying with Delta with cash fares. But another way is also to spend on the Delta credit cards. I have a video here where I talked about these cards as well as the massive changes that they recently underwent. Hope to see you there, and thanks so much for watching. Peace.